along with completing the square, another method that we can use for solving any quadratic is the quadratic formula. If you have quadratic like this, ax squared plus bx plus c, and you complete the square, leaving a, b, and c in there, you get the following answer. You get that x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Definitely write that down, box it, star it, save it, and memorize it. You're going to need to know this formula for years to come. It's a way you can use to solve any quadratic function. You can figure out what to get a zero for any quadratic function and solve any quadratic equation. So, for example, if I want to find the zeros of f of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 6, well, we look at the zeros are the same thing as solving where this equals 0. So we look at the format. Negative b, well, b in this case would be negative 1. So negative b is positive 1 plus or minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 6, all over 2 times a. 2 times 2, which is 4. So you're just plugging numbers in to the formula, and then doing arithmetic to simplify. Plus or minus square root of 4 times 2 is 8, times 6 is 48, minus minus becomes plus, so it's 1 plus 48 under the radical over 4. 1 plus 48 is 49, and root 49 is 7. So, looking at that, we have two different solutions. 1 plus 7 is 8, divided by 4 is 2. 1 minus 7 is negative 6 over 4. Negative 6 over 4 reduces to negative 3 over 2. So in this case, we have two solutions, two different zeros for the quadratic equation. X equals 2 and x equals negative 3 over 2. Here's another example you can solve with the quadratic formula. Just like our other solving methods, if we have things on both sides of our equation with a quadratic, we just need to collect them all onto one side. So we subtract 6m squared from both sides, subtract 7m from both sides. Those cancel out, those cancel out. 14m squared minus 6m squared is 8m squared. 7m doesn't have any like terms on this side. We've got an m squared and a 1, so that's just 7m plus 1, and we're left with 0 on the right side of the equation. And then we can plug stuff into the formula. Negative b is a positive 7 plus or minus square root of b squared. 7 squared is 49 minus 4 times 8 times 1. All over 2a. 2 times 8 is 16. So that gives us 7 plus or minus square root of 49 minus 32 over 16, which is 7 plus or minus square root of 49 minus 32 is 17. Root 17 doesn't simplify, so this is the best we can do. This is the final answer. 7 plus or minus root 17 over 16 equals m. That's the solution to this particular quadratic equation. And again, just like completing the square, this works even if our answer is irrational. This equation can't be factored, but we can still get a solution using the quadratic formula. Let's say we wanted to solve negative 3y squared minus 4y minus 2 equals 0. Again, just plug it into the formula. Negative 4 gets us a positive 4 plus or minus square root of negative 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times a, which is negative 3, times c, which is negative 2, all over 2 times a, which is negative 3, so that's negative 6. equals 4 plus or minus square root of 16. Negative 4, well, sorry, negative 3 times negative 2 is 6, times 4 is 24, so it's 16 minus 24 over negative 6. That's 4 plus or minus square root of negative 8 over negative 6. Now, looking at this, something happened that didn't happen before. We've got a negative underneath our radical. We can't take the square root of a negative and get a real number. You can get imaginary numbers, but we haven't talked about those yet. So if you ever wind up getting a negative under the radical here, you just say there is no real solution. Now, if we just want to find out how many solutions a quadratic equation has, we can take part of the quadratic formula, this part under here, this b squared minus 4ac, that's called the discriminant. And the discriminant tells you how many solutions the quadratic equation has. If that value, that discriminant, is bigger than 0, and there are 2 solutions, if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, well, then you'd have plus or minus 0, which just leaves you with 1 solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is negative, then you're getting a negative under the root. So just like we saw in the last example, that means there is no real solution. So you can just look at the b squared minus 4ac to tell how many solutions a quadratic has. So if we want to determine how many solutions this has, take b squared minus 4ac. That would be 24 squared minus 4 times 9, which is a little bit ugly. 24 squared would get you, what is that? 24 squared is 576, and then 4 times 9 is 144, so 576 minus 144 is 432, which is greater than 0. So this one has 2 solutions. 2a squared minus a minus 15, b squared, 1 squared minus 4ac. That's 1 plus 120, which is 121. That's bigger than 0. So this one would have 2 solutions. And x squared plus x plus 1, b squared, 1 minus 4 times a times c. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. That's less than 0. So this one would have no real solutions. So you can use just that part of the quadratic formula to tell the number of solutions you have to a quadratic equation without actually calculating what those solutions are.